Hello and welcome to me talking about the mods I have done for the Harley Benton ST-62 that I reviewed in the last video. Okay, so here we are, and here is the modded Harley Benton ST-62. Now you might be looking at it going, you haven't done anything. But I have. I've done a few things. Some simple things and some slightly less simple things, as it turned out. The first, most simple thing that I did to this guitar is take the back off it. Because changing the strings on this was a pain in the backside because this isn't quite cut straight. So to get strings in, I was having to go in at funny angles. So that came off. Some people say it affects the tone as well and makes it sound better. I can't say that I've noticed. But anyway, that's another story. The next thing that I did that was quite simple was I changed the string trees from the butterfly type to the roller type. And the reason for that is it just helps keep this tuning stability a bit better because I do a lot of bends. If I had the whammy bar in there, which I can't find already, yeah, kind of bombing and bending on the whammy bar causes problems if you've got things catching up here, so the rollers get around that. That's a really simple 2-minute job. I also polished the frets. So if you can see in this picture now, you can see the frets are quite dull. Now the frets felt like sandpaper when you were bending, and they were dull, and that just happens because, you know, they get crud on them when they're sat in a warehouse. They might oxidize a bit or something, you know, and it's just natural, it happens. So what you do is you clean the frets, you polish them. Now polishing frets is actually quite easy, but you just need the right bit of kit. A lot of people will tell you to use wire wool. I stay away from that because I don't take the guitar apart to do the frets and I don't bother taping things off. And wire wool, all the bits of the wool get stuck on your pickups and they never come off. It's really hard to get wire wool fragments off your pickups. So what I did is I went out and bought a Diodario polishing system and some fret protectors. Now I did do a video on this and I rather cleverly lost the video. So the short version is what you do, you take the strings off, you put your fret protector over the fret that you want to polish. You take one of your polishing cloths and you go rub, 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 until that looks like that, and until the fret feels nice and polished and shiny and sparkly. And what that does is it makes it much easier to bend strings and to do stuff. And it doesn't feel like you're kind of scratching up and down. And that's kind of a bare minimum you'd have to do on most guitars, to be honest, especially lower end ones like this. The fourth fairly simple thing I did was sand the neck down. Now, because remember I was saying in the review, I wasn't really too keen on how glossy the neck was. So, and I'll show you a video in just a second, but yeah, I sanded that down until it's kind of a satin finish rather than a gloss finish. And it does make all the difference in the world. And I have a little clip of video here just on showing you what I did. So here is the neck of the guitar. It's very shiny, very glossy and very sticky. So what I've got here is 1000 grit wet dry sandpaper, and I'm going to use that to just clear off some of the gloss. Not digging in heavy and going down to wood, just taking off the top few layers and sort of washing it down just so that it's a little bit smoother. So I was going to tape off some bits, and then we'll get going and see what happens. So I've taped off the headstock and I have taped off near the heel, and all I'm going to do is take the 1000 grit paper and just gently rub. You can see it's already starting to come off. I'll be back in a minute. Okay, and here we go. You can see the kind of an edge to the shininess kind of round here. and then up here there's a bit. So what I've done is I've gone over the whole neck with 1000 grit, and then I've polished it with 3000 grit, and it makes the world of difference to how well the neck plays. Yeah, so that made all the difference to the way the neck feels and makes it a much easier neck to play. And remember, I don't know if I said it in the review, but this is quite a fat neck for a Strat, so some people, if it's sticky and it's fat, are going to struggle with it. If it's at least smooth, then it's not so bad. So the next thing I did was take this apart and shield the cavity and the back of the scratch plate. Now, shielding helps to stop the guitar picking up kind of electrical hum around the room, off the amp, off lights, mobile phones. And all it is you put metal of some description, so copper tape or aluminium foil or anything like that, or even there's a paint that Fender use in their guitars. You cover the back of the scratch plate, you cover the inside of the cavity, make sure that they all connect somewhere so that you create what's called a Faraday cage, which basically stops the signal getting through. The Harley Bentons come with a bit of shielding around here, but nothing else. So what I did, I took it apart and I got dual conductive adhesive slug repellent copper tape. I kid you not, I'll put a link in the bottom for that, which is absolutely perfect because the adhesive conducts, so you can cover everything really, really thoroughly. And you just tear bits off, stick it in, tear a bit off, stick it in, and as you can see in the picture, it just cover everything you possibly can. What you don't see in the picture is also cover the back of the scratch plate. And that worked brilliantly. It takes a bit of time, but it works brilliantly. Now, the only thing that I had a problem was, and this is the next part of the modification, is I changed the 5-way switch. And I changed it from, as you can see in the picture, there's kind of a square looking one to a proper Fender one. Now, the only thing that caused me a problem with that was, with all the copper tape in there, I was shorting out the connection on the base of the switch because it was touching some of the copper, so I had to then insulate some of the copper. But once I figured it out, it was a 2-second job. So yeah, change that to 5-way. And also, what you'll see in the in this picture is that the 2 tone pots have a capacitor on each of them, which I wasn't expecting. So the last mod that I did with it is I changed those 2 capacitors to one single orange drop capacitor. And then I wired it so that the bridge now goes through the tone control that controls the middle as well. So now I can control the tone of my bridge pickup. Still works on the middle. It just means I can take some of the treble out of the bridge pickup. And yeah, that's kind of the mods I've done to this guitar so far. There are a few more I want to do. I want to change the tuning pegs to locking tuners because lots of people love them. I just don't like the split tuner. I really don't. Pain in the backside to redo, to string. Much prefer the modern hull or just the locking tuner. I will eventually change the bridge because to get the action lower, that's the other thing I do. Lower the action and adjust the truss rod slightly, just to give it a bit of, not that much, but a bit of curve so that it doesn't choke out in the middle. But that means that I've got all the Allen, what are they called, the little slugs, all sticking into my hand when I'm down here, which is a bit uncomfortable. So I'm going to switch that out for a modern Wilkinson at some point, and one day I'm going to stick a stacked humbucker in here because still, even with that, it doesn't feel quite right still. So that'll change eventually. Did it make a difference? Well, if I do an A/B test on the bridge pickup before I did the tone changes and after, you can hear there is a bit of a difference. I'll play it now. But oddly, the difference is that with the extra resistance going through the tone control and with the orange drop, Actually, it seems to have added a bit more treble, but it adds more articulation. So I actually still prefer that to the original capacitors. And also, obviously, that's a totally new sound for this Strat. So it does make a big difference. The switch feels much, much better. I feel much more confident sort of doing this kind of thing. But other than that, everything just really comes down to playability. So adjusting the neck, sanding it down, polishing the frets, all made this guitar as playable as my Fender Standard Telecaster. So for a £100 guitar, the important things to do cost you about £10. Bit of wet dry sandpaper, fret polishing system, and the Allen key that comes with it already. So without spending any money on this, you can make this an incredibly playable guitar. So what have you done? Have you changed the neck for a tele neck? Have you rewired it so that everything's a humbucker, or that the things are out of phase, in phase, parallel series? Let me know in the comments, subscribe, hit the bell, like, and I will see you soon.